Jessica Smetana.
Welcome to another edition of Golic and Smetty. Mike Golic Sr. here. That's Jess Smetana. The Golic Subpar Classic 2 is in the books. Jess and I golfed a couple of holes together. By the way, Jess, you have a wonderful swing. You have a really nice swing. The ball may not always go where you want it to go.
No, rarely.
But your swing is a very nice swing. If you take a photograph or a film of it, a video of it, it looks great. Just don't show where the ball went. Mm-hmm. Is that being mean?
Okay, it's fair. You saw probably two of my lowest moments of, I would say maybe my golf career at the Golic Subpar Classic today. And as we were recording this, Mike and I are both coming off of several hours in driving rain playing golf, so we're tired. We also, spent the weekend drinking. So
yes, we did.
Too.
Yes, we did.
But I had a fantastic time. But the low moments were both witnessed by you, Mike. And the first one was my cart wasn't working, and I couldn't get the parking brake off. And after about 5 minutes, realized it was a neutral. So that was pretty upsetting. I wish you hadn't seen that. It was about as upset as I've ever been. I obviously blame my boyfriend. It was his fault. I still think it was his fault.
Wait a minute. Who was in the driver's seat?
Well, we were switching back and forth. So
who was in when this particular
thing happened? I was driving.
Okay.
But I still blame him because nothing's my fault.
I mean, it was amazing. As Jess was trying to go, it would keep beeping like the brake was on and wasn't going anywhere. She was turning. Lee tried the rebooting. Turn it off and turn it on.
It was bad.
Turn the golf cart off and turn it on. I think that's going to happen. I mean, and oh, by the way, it was pouring. This was one of the times where it was raining. So her team and myself were all getting rained on as she's trying to figure out the friggin' golf cart and then realizes it's in neutral.
Okay, well, you were actually the only one getting rained on because you were in your little custom scooter that doesn't have a roof. Yeah, which is honestly, I have to say, is so cool. I want one. You, scooting around, look like the coolest person at the nursing home. It is a phenomenal vibe. But I felt like an idiot. And that was after I accidentally took the cart off the cart path on a par 3, trying to go back and get one of my balls, and I couldn't get it to go. It it freezes and you have to reverse.
It dies, because you went in the wrong spot. You have to reverse
and that was my bad too. So we had already had issues with the cart, and it's been a while, and I forgot. You should always check and see if it's in neutral, because there's only 3 things that could be wrong with a golf cart. It's off, the parking brake is on, or it's in neutral. And we checked the other 2, forgot that you could accidentally put it in neutral. So that sucked. Yeah,
it's not, you don't have to go under the hood, of a golf cart and really start checking plugs and things like that. That was something. And then
that was bleak.
And then I don't think either of us, when we were golfing together, really hit any great shot. Well, actually I did hit one. That got pretty close to the.
I had a good one too. I had a couple good ones. We played a couple holes together, and my second lowest moment was just whiffing on a drive, which is something I used to do all the time when I played golf. Haven't done in a couple years, but of course when you're standing behind me, I did it. So that was humiliating. But other than that, I didn't play that bad. I appreciate your compliment on my swing. I like to.
It's a very nice swing. It really is.
I'm not so good at aiming where I want the ball to go.
Well,
that's step 2.
So let me ask you, when and again, it was a wonderful tournament. We had a great party on Sunday night as well. I don't have the final numbers yet of what we raised, but we raised over $100,000 last year, and hopefully we beat it this year. So everything went really great. Even the rain didn't stop it. We didn't have to leave the course. There was no lightning or anything like that. So, and a lot of great celebs came in, a lot of former Notre Dame football players and others as well, like Jess. Other celebrities like Jess were there as well, and others. You weren't a Notre Dame football player, so correct. I had to go, and others. So all went great. But I do have to ask you, because you're saying when I was there, your shot struggled. So when do you fold under the pressure of the bright lights? Are you not good at performing, whether it's golf or pickleball or whatever, if there's an audience? Or because this is a question you could ask anybody out there about anything. You know, when you do something and you do it pretty well, but then all of a sudden maybe there's a camera on you, or there's your podcast partner is standing right next to you. Does that affect your play?
100%. And I think it affects most people's play, especially in an amateur golf tournament in which I am the most amateur of amateurs, Mike, because I'm trying to impress you so you think that I'm cool. And there's also an element of it where you remind me of my dad, who was constantly giving me unsolicited advice about my swing. So I'm trying to always do it the right way so that he doesn't tell me like, oh, you know, your club face is down, you got to tilt it up or whatever, you know, open up your hips, like whatever. I don't care, Dad. So yeah, there's an element of that too. I'm not a professional athlete. And you have played football in front of, over the course of your career, millions of people. The most sports I've ever done in front of a crowd was like high school soccer. And then today at the golf tournament when 6 people are watching me drive on number 2 on the par 4. So yeah, I'm not used to it. You could put it that way.
All right. I wasn't sure, you know, sometimes that brings out the best in people, you know, and sometimes there's a nervy. Now, so next year, if we golf, we'll golf a couple of holes again. Will that be because I didn't do that last year, and this year I golfed a couple of holes with you. So will I have the same effect on you as you say you're trying to impress me, which you don't have to do, Jess. You already impressed me enough, even though you age shame me and you age shame your father at every turn, absolutely every turn. But if I'm standing next to you next year, will it have the same effect?
Probably not, because now you've seen me do the most embarrassing thing you can do as a golfer, which is get your cart stuck in neutral.
I'm not going to lie, I've never seen that before.
It's something that you do when you're like 15 and you don't know what you're doing. Why golf carts even have a neutral? Who's putting the golf cart in neutral? They're taking it through a car wash? I don't even get that. It was annoying. So no, you know what? Now that I've been sufficiently humiliated, Mike, I don't think next year that will have the same effect on me. Luckily, also my foursome that I played with was very, very nice. One thing that I've learned about golf, because I used to be very intimidated about playing golf and by other golfers. Right. It used to be something that prevented me from playing golf, because you don't want to be the person who's the slowest person on, you know, in your foursome, who's chasing shots, who's losing balls. Yep. You don't want to be that person. You know, you want to have like some level of skill, so at least you're having a good time. But what I realized the last few years as I picked up golf again, because there's probably like 10 years where I was playing soccer and not really golfing, and I picked it up again recently. I realized that everyone really sucks at golf. Like, there's not that many good golfers. There's one guy in our foursome who was amazing.
He was.
But other than that guy,
yeah.
I mean, I only lost 4 balls today. For me, that's like getting a hole in one. I only lost 4 balls. Only 1 in the water, 3 in the fescue, but like, that's a pretty good day for me.
But you're right, because, you know, my wife doesn't golf, and she said over here on the Burke, the other golf course at Notre Dame, she said she wants to go over and golf with me at times, but she's concerned people will think she stinks. Mm-hmm. I said, A, most people stink.
Yeah.
B,
it's a tough sport.
B, they don't care about you. No, nobody is. If we're on 2 and the next hole over fairway, they can see us. Nobody is stopping their game and saying, let's watch that lady hit so we can mock her. I said, they don't care. They only care about their shot. They don't care what you're doing.
That's fair. There's no internet forums like, Chris Golic is a terrible golfer. Yeah, let's all shame her. No one gives a shit, because everyone sucks. Like, I've played with good golfers. I've played with really bad golfers. Most golfers are in the really bad to below average category. Yes. I feel like I fit in fine today. We were playing a scramble. We used a couple of my shots here, a couple of my shots there, a couple of my birdie putts there. And, that's the best you can hope for, really.
So, and speaking of golf, did you see the end of the Travelers in Hartford? This has to be the easiest golf course on the PGA Tour. Now,
I saw that the winning score was like 25 under.
Is that right? Keegan Bradley, I think, was 23 under. They said he had a shaky finish and won it at 23 under. I mean, there were other guys in the 20s that were under. I mean, if you weren't double digits under in this, you have to suck. Because I think the PGA record of 58 was shot at the Travelers. It's at the same golf course each year at the TPC there. It's got to be the easiest course known to mankind for pros. Now, again, not for people like us. We wouldn't go and destroy that course.
Well,
I hate courses like that.
Have you played there? Because you used to live... No, okay. I was going to say, what did you shoot there? Because we could make fun of you right now.
I have not played there. I never got, in all the years of Mike and all that, I never got asked to play in the Pro-Am there. I was bummed. I cried every year. I teared up when I wasn't asked to do it. But, I mean, oh my gosh. Could that course be it almost isn't even a challenge. It's like going to like a mini putt-putt course, and just getting hole in one. Yeah. I mean, it was horrible. I would love to be able to golf well in that, but I'd like to know, and maybe people will answer us, is there a tournament where consistently the winning scores are in the high teens or the low 20s? Keegan Bradley set a record there this time around. I mean, I don't know why it's such an easy course.
Well, I think we're going to have to get a finagle an invite to it and see how easy it really is, because chances are I'm whiffing on a couple, tee shots at the TPC courses. So.
Those things, Jess, there you would get nervous. When you golf in those Pro-Ams, there are people there.
There's no way. I was invited to play in like the American Century Classic one a couple years ago with the Lebitard show. It was like the first year. They go out every year. I haven't been able to make it because my schedule is I always have some sort of conflict. But the first year, they wanted me to compete against Chris Cody to see which of us would take the second spot in the Pro-Am. And I was like, I will purposely throw that game. Right. I do not want to do that. As cool as it would be to golf in, the same tournament that like Tony Romo and Steph Curry are playing in, I don't want any part of it.
See, that's where now I'm playing in that this year. So
my gosh. I am going to watch you and heckle you from my TV.
And I'm not going to lie, Jess, I'm nervous about it because
I would be nervous.
Not because I'm golfing, against Romo and those guys. Those guys, they're the ones that are going to win, the Romos and John Smoltzes of the world, and those guys are great golfers. I will be nowhere near in contention, but it's about not embarrassing myself. I got asked to do it way back in the Mike and Mike years when I was still big boned and I was a little larger then, and my game wasn't as good. I was more concerned about how many beers I would have each hole than how I hit. So I'm like, I don't want to play in this because it'll be too embarrassing. But now I got asked last year and I had to get another shoulder surgery done, so I had to skip it. So this year, I'm going in it and I'm nervous.
I can't wait.
I rarely golf back-to-back days. This is a Thursday practice round, Friday, Saturday, Sunday competition, and I have to walk. walk.
Oh, no.
I hate walking. Someone goes to me, if you walk, do you have to carry your own bag? I said, if I had to carry my own bag, I said I wouldn't go in the tournament. Again, first world problems here, but they give you caddies. So
I don't like walking. 18 holes is too long. I've always thought that golf courses should be 3 sections of 6 instead of 2 of 9. Because I think that right around the 12-hole mark, that's when my interest level, my fatigue, it all is kind of intersecting. I start plateauing, and my arms get tired, and I'm bored, and I want to drink, and I want to go home, and I'm sunburnt, and I'm ready for, to call it quits. It's been 3 hours. But then those last 6 holes, you're just exhausted, and it's not fun anymore. And I think there should be 2 rounds of 6, and then a mutual third option 6 holes to finish it out. So you can still play, your 18 and your 36s. It's all multiples of 6, but people like me can quit after the first 12 and then we're good.
You and I would be heading off to the bar together because I'm a 100%. Fan of a 13-hole golf course. 13 holes, and then we're on our way. Because I'm with you.
I like the round number, but
I start to fade. I just start to fade, and so I'm looking forward to playing this because it looks like so much fun. But I'm very nervous that I'll golf horribly, or I'll hit somebody with a golf ball.
Well, that happened to Chris Cody also. Ray Romano hit him in the leg with a golf ball 2 years ago at this thing.
Oh, see, and I'm not going to lie, Jess. I will fanboy out if Ray Romano is there. Every night when Chris and I go to bed, we watch reruns of Everybody Loves Raymond. We are Ray Romano fans and that show fans.
Well, he'll probably be there. And guess what? Chris Cody is cousins with him, so he can introduce you.
Seriously?
He got hit in the leg with Ray Romano's ball, and he's his cousin. How weird is that?
God, that is very cool because there's a lot of celebrities there, but luckily through the years of ESPN and Mike and me and Wingo and my son having a show, you meet a lot of people that and I've never been overly excited about meeting athletes because I talk to them or have them on the shows. It's always entertainers like singers or actors. So I'm really hoping Ray Romano's there and I get to meet him. I am going to fanboy him.
And he smacks you with a golf ball in the leg.
Hits me in the leg with a golf ball.
Well, Mike, you have a great swing also. You had a few great shots. I think you birdied a hole for us.
I did.
On the front nine. You are great and you look cool in your scooter. So hopefully they'll let you bring your scooter with you to Lake Tahoe for it and you'll be all set.
Those guys are going to be there with the fat scooter. So they asked me if I would drive it around there. I said, hells to the yes. But I will say, before we close on this is right before you guys left, you did give me the Tupperware full of the chocolate chip cookies with some sea salt in it. And Jess, there are probably 2 left. Well, you saw when you were there. People were just coming by and grabbing them. They got devoured.
Yeah.
Yeah, they did.
All right, well, give me a rating out of 10 because I made these cookies for you just so you know, Mike, actually very strategic about this because we were busy. The power went out at the house I was staying at for like 6 hours the night that I was going to make you the cookies and I couldn't. So I had to adjust and make them in the morning before we left for South Bend. It was like kind of a shit show. So I really went above and beyond to make sure you got these cookies, and I want to know if they were as good as you hoped they would be.
You saw what happened. They were devoured. Those were 10 out of 10. They were fantastic.
Right, I'll take a 10.
They were absolutely fantastic. I loved them.
10, also what I score on most holes when I play golf by myself.
Yeah, I didn't want to bring that up at all. But it was a great time. I'm glad you were there. We had a lot of fun. Hopefully, when the final tally comes in, we'll have raised a lot of money again to help the local charities in the area, because that's truly what it's all about. All right, coming up, who is, or looks like we may have a team for Hard Knocks now, but in all honesty, is Hard Knocks still what it used to be, or are we past it? So we'll jump into that next. All right, Jess, so Hard Knocks, you watch Hard Knocks every year?
Okay, so I used to. It used to be the highlight of my August because you get so bored of no football, and then you finally get like a tiny little morsel of football when Hard Knocks comes back, and you turn it on and you hear the with the sprinklers and everything, and like that always like it scratches an itch. You're like, okay, we're almost there. It's preseason time, but I have to admit the last 2 seasons I completely skipped because it just got so undramatic, uninteresting, just very formulaic, and I lost interest.
Can you do the sprinkler sound one more time? That's pretty good.
Thank you.
That's actually really nice. I appreciate it.
I think honestly, the last one I watched was probably when the Cowboys were on it. I probably watched the first 2 episodes, and then I gave up.
So I watched it last year. It was Detroit, and everybody fell in love with Dan Campbell. Yeah. I mean, this big former tight end, tough as nails player, introductory press conference said, our guys are going to bite off your kneecaps. And so if I'm a player, quite honestly, and we get a coach and he says that, I'm like, oh, hell, man, his training camp going to be hard, and so a tough guy, but he gets emotional with his players at times. You just kind of loved him. So I think everybody kind of fell in love with him and Detroit. And if their team wasn't in it, people rooted for Detroit. Like, I'm picking Detroit to win the NFC North this year over Minnesota because I don't think Green Bay is going to be there with a new quarterback, and I think Chicago is still a little bit away as they're trying to build their roster around Justin Fields. So I like what Detroit's doing. So I liked that one. It didn't see, nobody was standing on a box, jumping up and down saying, hey, NFL, we'll do it. Right. Yeah. And the NFL has.
I can see why.
Yeah.
It's
because I'm with you. It is it's kind of lost its luster a little bit. I agree. It's kind of formulaic. Now I agree with everything you said. So I didn't watch it I kind of watched it after the fact. Even last year, I'd say, oh, there's one of the episodes of Hard Knocks. Let me watch it. I don't even know if I watched them in order, quite honestly.
Yeah.
So the league is allowed to force a couple of teams, depending on the criteria, I won't get into down in the weeds. They can force a team to do it. And it might be the Jets. The Jets may be the team. And I think if people had their choice, if you gave people a choice, a lot of people might pick the Jets because of the whole Aaron Rodgers thing, right? Mm-hmm. Aaron Rodgers, remember he came into camp last year looking like Nicolas Cage from Con Air, with the muscle T-shirt and the slick back hair. But I don't know, Jess, what you'll get, because if players aren't really into it, because you want to find that personality. Who's going to be the personality? But if they do in fact do the Jets, everybody they're going to obviously be going for Aaron Rodgers and saying Aaron's our guy. But what if Aaron's not really into it? What if he doesn't really give him a lot? I mean, he's been in the league for 50 years. He may not give a damn about that, and then that's going to make it really bad unless somebody else, maybe obviously not as popular as Aaron, becomes kind of the personality of that show.
There's a lot of interesting things there too, because I think one of the reasons Hard Knocks has become like less of a must watch for me is because there have been so many instances in the past, 5 years especially, where from reading reports that there's a lot of stuff going on behind the scenes, and Hard Knocks is like, we're not going to touch that. We're not going to mention that. We're going to skate right past it. Anything that's like, remotely controversial, we're not really going to touch. And so it's kind of like, okay, we're not getting the full picture here of what's actually going on at training camp. And with someone like Aaron Rodgers, who has, tons of controversy behind him, things off the field, on the field, with getting traded, with his comments about being vaccinated 2 seasons ago, all of the things that he, does on social media, his weird darkness chamber, his ayahuasca retreats. There's like a lot of stuff there that I could see the Jets and also the NFL probably wanting to downplay, because you don't want him to be popular for the wrong reasons. And I think people who have an opinion of Aaron Rodgers probably already have an opinion of Aaron Rodgers. There's not a lot of people that are neutral on him, but I could still see there being a little bit of censorship there and not wanting to really like cause a ton of problems before the season starts. And that's one of the reasons why I'm sure the Jets are reluctant. They just want to get to work and not have to worry about anything that might happen on Hard Knocks that people see that they don't want people to see. Even though I think it seems like from the last few seasons, they've cut a lot of that sort of stuff out. So if that's the case, then we're really not going to see the full picture anyways. And then what interesting things will we actually see? And that's why the show's gotten a little stale for me. It's because there hasn't been a whole lot of that with a lot of the seasons. And I know that if there is a funny clip like the Dan Campbell stuff last season, like I'll just see it on Twitter and I'm not going to have to dedicate, a full hour to watching the episode. So I don't know. I don't know how it's going to go if it is officially the Jets.
So did you see the last thing from Aaron Rodgers? He wants psychedelics legalized now.
That is the new thing, Mike. Everyone these days is talking about mushrooms. Oh yeah.
Really?
I am wearing a Grateful Dead. I don't know if you can see my Dead & Co shirt.
I love the shirt.
I can't throw
I love the shirt.
Glass stones. Throwing stones, as they would say. That's a Grateful Dead song.
I have not. I have not done the psychedelic, the mushroom thing yet. I'm fearful.
I'm gonna cut that and put that on Twitter.
I'm fearful, Jess. I'm not in on that side of my life of things like that. I'm not a risk taker by any stretch. So I'm like, oh yeah, I'll try. Give me some or whatever, or however you ingest it to see what it does to you. I'm not looking to get the feeling of whatever the psychedelic drug does to me. I'm not looking to go to some dark room and have some revelation of what the darkness is good. Maybe we're missing out. I mean, maybe
that's true. That's probably what Aaron Rodgers would say. Is that like our minds are closed off to new experiences and things. And you know what? I'm cool with things that I experience already. I like my little podcast and my nice little life, so I'm good. But that's the least of his problems. We'll put it that way. I don't know. I don't know if I'm going to watch it, but it seems like that would probably be the buzziest team to get Hard Knocks. If it is them. I can't think of another team of the eligible teams that would have a bigger, mass appeal, especially because it's also New York, it's a massive fan base. Haven't made the playoffs in 12 years. They traded for a quarterback that they think is going to finally get them in the playoffs and maybe even win the division. And so might have a huge turnaround, but we'll see.
I have a feeling that show only has a year or two left before they just say, you know what, and in all honesty, I don't know what the viewership is. I have a feeling that's gone down. I have no idea, but I know, we're talking about losing interest. I think a lot of other people
but I do love the
well. You do that really well. It's a nice
better than
job.
My golf game.
Yeah, well, that's true. Let me ask you this. And everybody out there, if you had this choice, this is an interesting one. And I didn't really see this. Devon Allen, now it's Devon or Devon. I think it's Devon. It's Devon. Is that Devon? Devon?
Just say it quickly. Yeah, that's what I do, and I don't know how someone
Devon Allen.
Their name.
Okay.
Devon Allen. Yeah.
He runs the 110-meter hurdles. Okay, and he's on the Philadelphia Eagles. He was on their practice squad last year, okay? The last time he played football before last year was 2016 at Oregon. And then he took time off to run track. He has like the third or fourth fastest time in the world this year in the 110-meter hurdles. He has placed 5th and 4th in the 110-meter hurdles in the past 2 Olympics. He's 28 years old. So here's the thing. He's still running. How about this? He's going to compete in the USATF Outdoor Championship, which is in July in Eugene, Oregon. If you were to qualify for the World Championships, it will take place August 18th to the 27th in Budapest. Now, what's going on in the NFL August 18th to the 27th? Preseason games, right? Training camp and preseason
you're right.
games.
Preseason games.
But still, most are out of training camp by then. But yeah, preseason games. This guy was a practice squad player, so he's not an established player in the NFL.
Right.
So he's a practice squad guy who's also one of the great 110, hurdle guys in the world. And so he has a chance to go to the World Championships while preseason games are going on. And he says, I still don't have a plan of what I'm going to do with the Worlds being, during training camp. He said, obviously, it'd be nice to compete at Worlds, and it also would be nice to be at training camp so I can make the 53-man roster. Obviously, it's going to be a little bit of a decision. He has not made the decision yet. Already been 2 Olympics, 5th and 4th. So the 4th place, he was 1 slot away from being on the podium at the Olympics. So what do you do?
Well, first of all,
go ahead.
I was going to say, book your flights and get them refundable, because flights right now to Budapest, I'm sure, are through the roof. I mean, I was looking at Ireland flights for the Notre Dame game in that time of year in August, and everyone's flying to Europe this summer, Mike. It is a pricey ticket. So get a refundable ticket.
Can I ask a quick question while I appreciate your thought of, being fiscally responsible?
Right.
If he's on the team that makes the Worlds, does he have to pay for his flight?
I actually don't know. It is a good question. Maybe if he's sponsored, he doesn't. I'm not 100% sure. That is a good research question we'll have to look into.
But if he does, and they would know that right now, that would be smart. Book it as refundable because it'd be cheaper right now. But hopefully
whoever's booking and paying for his travel, maybe it's not him, maybe it's the team. I don't know.
Right.
That's my first advice. My second advice, I say you have to go to Worlds. It's kind of a big deal, no?
Well, yeah, I mean, it's a big deal. And
if you do well, it's great publicity for yourself. And maybe the Eagles will cut you and you'll have to join some other P squad and make that team. But I mean, if you get the publicity of like you're fastest person in the world and you're coming back now to the States to play football, I feel like that's a good thing.
I would agree that you would be in the news about that, and somebody, if it's not Philly, would give you a shot again.
At least, I mean, yeah.
Listen, both of the things he's doing in relation to your life, right, is short-lived, correct?
Mm-hmm.
NFL, and I don't mean football from Little League on. I mean the NFL career you can have,
it's a short window,
or the track and field might be even shorter, obviously, with the young people coming up and how fast they are and such.
I have another point, which is to think of the worst case scenario. So, worst case scenario, you don't take the opportunity to travel and compete on the world stage, and you also get cut from the P squad, and now you have neither thing. Whereas like competing in Budapest, like that seems like a once in a lifetime opportunity, or maybe like twice in a lifetime opportunity because this guy's competed, on that sort of stage before. You don't want to give that up and then end up with nothing, right?
Even a worse scenario, you go to Budapest, you run, and you pull a hammy.
Oh.
Now you don't place, and now you're injured going back and trying to play football. Yeah, I don't want to put that on the guy.
That's definitely bad.
Yeah, that would be bad. So you would go to the Worlds, trying the Olympics track and field the next summer in France.
Yeah.
And
I think that's what I would do. I mean, look, my dream growing up was to play in the NFL, Mike. You know this. I always told people when I was like in third grade I wanted to be an NFL player growing up, and unfortunately I just wasn't tall enough, but I would take the opportunity to compete in track and field in an international stage, because I think the upshot is if you do well, you have a cool story to tell people. Yeah. And I think NFL teams are always looking, especially in that position, always looking for guys that are quick and that you can plug and play. And that at that position, I think he's going to be okay.
I agree. I am 100% in agreement with you. I wonder what everybody out there would think and do. He's obviously doing track and field because he loves it, not just because he's fast. You're not doing something like that if you don't love it. I'm sure he loves football as well. I agree. I think he's got to go for it and get after that there as well. So whatever he does, good luck to him. I hope it is track and field. We'll keep an eye on him and see if he ends up at the Worlds. All right, that's all. That's all real. That's like reality TV, real stuff. Jess, we may have to start talking about what we're watching on TV again.
Now that time of year.
Now that Outer Banks is we're not sure what's happening there.
No,
that
Outer
series is
Banks.
over. We have to pick something
so much.
else.
I miss John B.
All right, Jess, we'll get to what we're now watching on the different streaming things. One series has started up again that I know you and I both watch that we can talk about. But we have others as well. There's one I'm finishing up, I think, on Amazon Prime. I start to lose track of all the different streaming things I'm watching here. But F1 was off again this weekend.
Yeah. I know you want them to race every weekend.
I do.
Don't worry. We're basically every weekend or every other weekend for the rest of the year, except for during the break, which is in August, which is for 3 weeks. But other than that, there's a lot of
season left, right? Isn't there a lot of season
left?
Yeah,
I think we're at like the 1/3 of the way through mark. Something like that.
Okay, so Red Bull is basically dominated everywhere. If somebody is not going to unseat them, but if there's another one out there, is it Ferrari? Is it Mercedes? Who?
It's a good question. The thing that everyone is talking about now is if Max Verstappen is like literally going to win every single race. So that would be crazy. I don't know if that's ever been done before. I would need to brush up on my F1 stats. But if there was a team, maybe Aston Martin, maybe Mercedes, and this would only be for like a race. This isn't like Verstappen and Red Bull are I think solid for the rest of the season. But in the course of a race, anything can happen. There can be a safety car, right, there can be rain, there can be, any sort of thing can happen, mechanical failure, engine failure, stuff like that. So it's possible that like someone else will win a race. It would probably be one of those teams. It'd probably be Aston Martin or Mercedes, because they've both done pretty significant upgrades over the first part of the season and look like they're starting to catch up more.
So even though Max is dominating now, with his world championship last year, and I'm sure he'll get another one this year, the championship, Louis Armstrong had how many in a row? 6, 7?
Lewis Hamilton?
I mean, Louis Armstrong. He had a lot of Tour de France's, but Lewis Hamilton, he
won seven championships.
7 in a row,
it's
correct?
Yeah. So, well, I think there might have been one and then
okay.
a year, and then
So we're not ready to say Max is better than Lewis, are we?
No, I think in terms of the GOAT conversation, I think Michael Schumacher and Lewis.
No, and I agree with that. I knew that. I'm sorry, I just meant between Lewis and Max.
Well, I would say probably if you were just to compare the two, in this season and last season, Max is probably making fewer mistakes and driving the car, pushing the car more. But I think it's hard to compare, obviously, because they're in different cars. And Lewis is over a decade older than Max, so maybe he's slowed a little bit, but he's still probably if he's not the best driver, easily the second best driver, and Fernando Alonso's right up there in the conversation too. Right. So it's hard to compare. I mean, people get in arguments about it all the time because you're not on the same machinery, but Max is really good. He is a phenomenal racer. If he decides that he's gonna race as long as Lewis has raced in F1, which, you never know. He could retire young. Right. He could decide.
Because God knows they're making enough money that they don't have to. But
he makes $60 million a year.
I mean, it's unreal. But I guess I'm talking about legacy. Is it like basketball where you start to count championships?
Oh, yeah.
And
for
say,
sure.
okay, how many did you win? I mean, because he's going to get 2, right? He'll get another one this year, and that'll be his second, correct?
His third, yeah.
His third. I mean,
his third, yeah.
His third, and Lewis has 7. So, I mean, from a legacy standpoint, Max is the greatest driver in the world right now.
Yes.
Undeniable.
And in the best car. But that's the thing about F1 that people will argue in circles for days and days and days is once you get into the nitty gritty of who's racing with what car and compare and contrast how their teammate did and to try to see if, they were actually good or if the car was dominant, blah, blah, blah. People argue around it in circles. I think that Max has definitely proven he was, a racing child prodigy that Red Bull invested in when he was very young. They knew he was going to be really good. And it has obviously paid dividends. He's very, very good and probably bored with how good he is driving. He's given a few interviews where he's like, I don't know how long I want to do this. And I'm like, that's just because you're bored because you keep winning. He's been on the podium 41 times, something like that.
So. It's incredible. So let me ask you this. This is get the crystal ball out.
Yeah.
10 years from now, Lewis Hamilton will probably be done racing by then, but he still has those 7 championships. He still has those 7 championships.
Yeah.
10 years from now, Verstappen may be out of it as well. So they could both be out of it. And I don't know how many championships Verstappen will have at that point. That's where I'm going. 10 years from now, when we say Max Verstappen, Lewis Hamilton, who has the better legacy, who is the better driver, who do you think it'll be?
That's a good question. I mean, I think part of the question you're asking is can Max win 4 more championships in the next 10 years? And I think that seems possible at this point. But the thing about Formula One is that they're always making new regulations and changing things so that some teams, have a stronger position one year and then a weaker one the next year because of the rule changes and regulations. It's very, very hard to stay dominant for long stretches of times because of the way that the sport's constantly evolving and changing their rules. I think Lewis Hamilton will always have one of the most impressive legacies in the sport from a racing standpoint, but also everything he's done in his life to promote more diversity in racing. He's the only Black Formula One driver. He's put a ton of effort and a ton of resources into trying to change the diversity makeup of Formula One. So I don't think Max Verstappen can win a million more races. You can't take any of that away from Lewis Hamilton. He has changed the sport completely and he's won a shit ton of races. So It's a tough question. I think, that's going to be a GOAT debate for a long time.
All right, fair enough.
I weaseled out of an answer.
You did. You actually did, but you did it well, so I'm going to let it go. One other thing I want to ask is the longest sport that, I won't say longest, but the most games in a sport that we have is baseball with 162 games.
Yeah,
we're about 80 games in right now. It is a lot. So, I'll never forget, you've done shows, I've done shows. It's tough to talk about game 56, or game 92. So what if anything is holding your interest in baseball? Already the one thing I love is the pitch clock.
I love the pitch clock.
Has knocked so much time off the game. Now, when you look at it, average like 3 hours and 9 minutes. Now it's like 2 hours and 39 minutes. People say, 20 minutes, a half hour, whatever. But that seems like ages. It seems like the game seems so much quicker with the pitch clock. I love it. I think it's been great for baseball. You?
Oh, I totally agree. I think the biggest complaint I hear from critics of the pitch clock is that when you go to a game now in person, they're too fast and you don't get to like sink into your seat and just chill and zone out for a bit, which people love to do. For me, like, I have no attention span. If a pitcher is, stepping back and forth doing the whole thing and then the batter gets out of the box and then like I'm looking at my phone and I miss the pitch. Like, that's pretty much my experience with baseball, and that's on me. Like, I have no attention span.
But I think they're doing a lot of that for the U's of the world, because the average in attendance, the U's
and the me's,
the U's of the word, these two Utes. So the average age of an in-stadium fan, I know a couple of years ago, was 56 years old. So they got to young that up. They got to get people like you in there. So that's why I think this is great, because you guys don't have a long attention span. You guys are in a microwave society. You want everything right now. And to see how much quicker it goes, I think that's been great. People will get used to it. Like they always say, how will the players deal with it? Rules have changed in sports over the decades many times. And you know what players do? They adapt, because there are new rules.
They have to.
You either adapt or you're out. It's exactly right. So they adapt to it. So I love it. I think that's been a great part of the game. The other is streaks or races or home runs or batting averages, like who's on a hitting streak. You're getting close. When do you start caring, about the hitting streak, of somebody trying to catch Joe DiMaggio 56 games? When do you start caring about a home run race? Nowadays people look at the home run a little bit less. The biggest thing I hate, I'm not going to lie, is back in the McGuire-Sosa era, when they were knocking the ball out of the park all the time, having home run races, right? They were cutting into games from other programs.
Oh, I hated it. I hate when they did it with Aaron Judge last year. I complained about it to anyone.
Did you really?
I complained about, because I'm watching Sam Hartman throw 6 touchdown passes in the Wake Forest Clemson game. It's a battle. DJ Uyungale's best game for Clemson last year, by the way. I don't care about Aaron Judge. If I care about Aaron Judge, I would turn on Aaron Judge. But I'm with you. Like, the streaks, the records, all of that stuff, and the postseason stakes, those are the things when I'm probably going to start tuning in. Because unless I'm going to a game in June and July and August, I'm probably not watching it. Because this is the only time of year I have to catch up on all the other shows that I want to watch. Because other than the WNBA, not a lot of sports going on right now. So right. I have to binge watch every TV show that I missed during football, basketball, and hockey season.
Yep, and we're going to get to those in a second. The one thing, but I think it's too early, we're about 80 games in, is the kid from the Marlins, Luis Arias. He's hitting 399. It's a little early to be worrying about, Arias and hitting 399. You got a lot of season to go. I hope he does it. I hope he's around that later in the season, so we can, maybe they will break in from a show that you're watching, so you'll hate it. Maybe one of the shows that we watch, though all the shows we watch are streaming, so probably won't be. But something definitely to kind of keep in the view a little bit, and we'll see what happens as we get further down into the season. All right, coming up next, I know I impressed you at the party at our SubPar Classic.
Ooh, you did.
Yes, and we have some TV shows to talk about as well.
Well, my favorite show on television right now is The Righteous Gemstones, which had a new episode that came out Sunday night. But I missed it because I was at the Golic Subpar Classic welcome party, which, Mike, was electric. And I saw an even better performance than anything that the Righteous Gemstones family could do at their mega church, which was you singing Brandy on stage, karaoke style, impromptu, I think. Was that on the bill of events?
No,
I
it
didn't
was
know that
not.
was going to happen.
No, Mara Gallagher, who runs this thing, I had to go up and announce something on the mic, and we had a DJ there. And when I finished, she just whispered to me, "Stay up here, keep the mic." And then she started talking to the DJ, and I had no idea what was going on. And then Brandy starts playing. And that's my go-to karaoke song all the time.
You knew all the words.
Oh, well, if you're karaoke song, you got to, even though they have the screen in front of you for karaoke. I know all those words. So I jumped on stage and I sang it, and I had a ball. And the good thing is it doesn't go too high or too low. So I can kind of stay in the range, which brought up this idea. Somebody said to me afterward, they said, why not after the auction, why not have karaoke?
That's a good idea. That would be fun for next year.
I thought so as well.
I'll start it off. I mean, I'm so
What's your song? What's your song?
Me and Bobby McGee by Janis Joplin. That's my song.
That's a great song.
It's a good one. It's my favorite. Yeah. I used to sing Low Places by Garth Brooks, but I can't go that low.
Yeah, it's tough. It's tough.
Yeah, it's like medium places for me. It's not very low.
I think we're going to do that because by the time the auction was over, it started at 6, and you want to move things along. By the time the auction was over, it was about 8:30, and it goes till 11. So, and we had plenty of people that hung out till 11. But I think we may try that. Yeah, open bar is always going to do that.
I'm all for it. If you need help setting that up next year, I am so down. Maybe I'll sing Misbehavin' from The Righteous Gemstones.
So we'll put a pin in that, and we'll do that next year. I'm a big Righteous Gemstones guy as well. I'm a big fan of that show. The first couple this season, a little more on the drama side as the kids are taking over for their dad, and having troubles, going through the troubles there. So I think it'll start to hopefully lighten up a little bit and get to that funniness again that we're used to.
Yeah, there's something that I scream all the time that is like, I probably shouldn't because people probably think that I'm talking about a turd. But in season 2, when Uncle Baby Billy screams "toilet baby" because like the woman has a baby in the toilet. I scream "toilet baby" all the time now, and I just don't think that if people aren't familiar with the show, they probably think that I'm
you're a
talking
little
about
gross,
poop. But no, I'm talking about a baby in a toilet, and it's just funny the way he says it, and I just love it so much.
It's a great show. But the one I think you watched The Bear too, right?
I love The Bear. I haven't started the new season yet. But
I haven't either, because the one kid in that was in Shameless, which I watched. Yes. I loved Shameless.
Yes.
And so he's in The Bear now as owning a restaurant and a chef. I think it's great. I think it's a very cool thing.
I ate an Italian beef the other night thinking about, I can't wait to watch this show, but I have to wait until after the golf tournament because I can't start and then not finish it right away. So
I'm with you.
That's gonna be what I do the rest of this week, Mike. Watch The Bear. The other show that I started, do not watch this show. It is so bad. The Idol on HBO Max is just. Have you seen any of it?
No, I have not, and I will not.
Good,
now.
Don't. Honestly, I have secondhand embarrassment for.
Is it worse than Outer Banks, which we've both watched?
I love Outer Banks.
But we love it, but we hate it.
I hate it. I hate it so much, but I love it. I miss it, honestly.
So this movie isn't like this? This one isn't like this?
It's actually just bad. It's just bad. It made me, uncomfortable. It was just bad writing and bad characters. Okay. And The Weeknd is the creator of it, and he stars in it. And he plays this pop star, and it was so bad that he did an interview in GQ where he was like, yeah, it's supposed to be campy. And I'm like, I'm not sure about that, The Weeknd. So don't watch it.
I will not watch it. I am on Amazon Prime. I am watching something called Joe Pickett, who is a game warden that tries to,
I don't know about Joe Pickett.
I know.
But I do know about Kenny Pickett.
I don't think... And on that note, you know what we're going to do? We're going to say goodbye.